Hi, this is Tenzin Choyung, and with me are Fila Pater Naguib and Yusuf Ibrahim. Today we'll be presenting our Egyptology project. Ancient Egypt is one of the most interesting topics of world history. There are many different interesting parts that make up the Egyptian civilization, but in this presentation we'll be focusing on only war. War played a big part in ancient Egypt history, and ancient Egypt wouldn't be what it is without war. We'll be talking about different parts of war, such as weapons, traditional enemies, technology, strategies, and important battles and wars.
For our first weapon, we have the battle axe. The battle axe was a main part in ancient Egyptian battles. It was made out of two materials, bronze and wood, wood for the handle and bronze for the blade. The battle axe had two purposes. The first one was to slice through the opposition's skin since they didn't have armor on, usually. And the second purpose was to dig through the opposition's defensive wall since it was made out of mud. For our second weapon, we have the composite bow. A composite bow was a lethal weapon that would fire up to 250 meters far. However, it was not like any other bow. It was made out of different layers and materials. The different materials were wood, horn, and sinew. These materials made sure the bow was stable when going into the battle.
The bronze-tipped spear was one of, if not the most common and known melee weapons used for up-close attack. It was the weakest two-handed spear, but it was definitely one of the easiest to make. This was also a very unique weapon. The formation of it was created in a very smart and intelligent way, being able to handle the force of striking prey or an opposition in battle. It was not only used for war but also for agricultural farming. The base or handle of the spear was shaved wood into the format of a spear. Then a small piece of rock or bronze was sanded and attached to the end with a rope. The javelin isn't an ordinary hand-launched weapon. It was around a whole meter long and soldiers would use it to crash through an enemy's shield. Another way the javelin was used was by throwing them into enemy chariots and lines of soldiers for defense. The shape of the blade tip made it easier to aim and soar through the air. A wood handle was also included for grip. In modern Egyptology, the Hyksos designate the kings of the 15th dynasty of ancient Egypt. These powerful kings settled near the land of Avaris in the Nile Delta. There, they ruled over the lower and middle of Egypt all the way up to Kusay. Later on in time, they would invade ancient Egypt and it ended up with the bloodshed of a battle. For our second traditional enemy, we have the Hittites. The Hittites were ancient Anatolian people. They gathered and formed an empire from 1600 BCE to 1180 BCE. They lived under the government officials and many different branches of government. The Hittites also worshipped the storm gods of ancient Egypt.
For the third traditional enemy, we have the Sea People. Sea People were a group of mysterious and threatening soldiers. They were unknown for almost a century in the second millennium BC, according to the ancient Egyptian inscription. They were not only a threat to Egypt, but also to Syria and Turkey. For our last traditional enemy, we have the Canaanites. The Canaanite were people who lived in the land of Canaan, ruled by King of Kadesh. They got into a problem with ancient Egypt in 1457 BC. Fierceness of the warriors was the reason the Battle of Megiddo was very close.
Strategies. The ancient Egyptians at the time had many tactics, but most of them were hand to hand combat. They formed a line with soldiers armed with spears, axes, and shields. The archers who would shoot from the infantry line and then the center would move forward and push the enemies to flee the field, winning them the battle or war. Technology. Most of their technology was to help the long process of building the Great Pyramids. Of that, they created the ramp and lever. The ramp was used to move the 2-ton blocks upward. The lever was used to move the stones from one place to another. They also used chisels and hammers to shape their architecture. Another piece of technology they used was the wheel. They used the wheel for chariots that would help them get to places faster. Important battles and wars. Hyksos and the invasion of ancient Egypt. It happened around 1720 to 1710 BC. The Hyksos entered Egypt and acted like Egyptians until they had enough power to come up and take over Egypt. Another important battle was the Battle of Kadesh. It happened around 1274 BC. This battle led to the first peace treaty. It was fought between the Egyptians and the Hittites. Battle of Delta. It happened around 1175. This battle took place for the land of Delta. The Egyptians fought and won the land from the invaders by land and sea.
For our third important battle and wars, we have the Battle of Megiddo. The Battle of Megiddo was fought in 1457 BC. It was a battle to determine which side would earn a land extension. The fight was led by the Thutmose III and led his side to victory. Battle of Pelusium. This battle wasn't the most significant for the Egyptians. This fight occurred on 525 BC, and the Egyptians were led by the Cambyses II. The Egyptians ended up losing the battle of the Persian army. This was our Egyptology project, and we hope you enjoyed.